This is a day in the life of an extrovert by Group 3. He opened his heavy eyes reluctantly and felt no motivation whatsoever to lift even half of his body up. He lay down on his bed, not moving a muscle, for the only thing to look forward to today was the end of it. The sun shone bright from his window, welcoming him to get up. It was the barest of welcomes, but it was a welcome nonetheless. Even so, what good was getting up when all he got to do today was stare at a mere computer screen? Shuffling his feet across the creaking floorboards, he swung open the curtains and watched the sun rise through the azure sky, its mellow warmth radiating across the surface of the earth. Yet it felt sinisterly cold upon his skin. The neighborhood would be bustling with crowds while traffic would pile up onto the highway. Yet the roads all seemed empty and lifeless, not a single soul in sight. Households were once empty during the time of day as people went off to school or work. But now everyone stays home, since all lifestyle choices have been launched online. His friends were waving at him from the window, signaling the start of school. He cheered up, but quickly realized it was all just a big hallucination as his head began to sink. This all seemed a bit too unreal for him to comprehend. The world was changing, its inhabitants too, for better or for worse. That could not be determined, but what he was unsure of was if he could change along with the rest of them. He pondered upon this as he slowly dragged his feet into the dark depths of the dungeon that was also known as his room.
Lethargically, he limps his unmotivated legs back upstairs and right back into his room. He switches on his ceiling fan as he crashes down upon his already messy bed. Why, Tobit, why? He muffled as he stuffed his face through his pillow. Why do you ruin my life? He questions out loud. With all his energy and bits of motivation he still has left in him, he finally emerges from his bed, slowly dragging his body towards his desk and opens up his laptop. Great. The first class is maths. What a fun way to start off the day, he sarcastically exclaimed as he opens up Zoom. As he joins the class, a glint of joy reflects upon his face as he sees the name of his friends. However, that glint of joy soon disappears into thin air as the only thing he could see were their icons and their names. Desperately, without a care of what his teacher was saying, he texted the three of them. Unfortunately, he was met with no replies, as the others were busy paying attention to the class. A long pause awaits, as he falls into a deep whirlwind of thoughts, his mind filled with countless thoughts running left, right, and center at the speed of sound. How long is this going to last? Can I get through this unscathed? Will my friends still remember me? These were just three out of hundreds of thoughts he had in mind. As he continued with his online studies, he started feeling irritable from the isolated atmosphere of his room. Still haven't recovered from the thought, an hour passes by and class has ended without him ever listening to a word his teacher had said. However, he had one thing in mind. I'm finally free, he roared from the inside.
It was lunchtime. He had organized a meeting with his friends online. As soon as he had joined, he excitedly greeted his companions as his eyes scrammed across the screen in search of a familiar face. But all he got were black cards with the names on them again, with the only face being his. He tried communicating with his friends verbally. How have you guys been? But all he saw was a lousy reply in chat stating the letter K. As quickly as his excitement brewed, the fury feeling dwindled as he began to see his friends were no longer who they used to be. Social butterflies turned into gloomy cocoons. The meeting had ended as quickly as it had begun, and he had not taken a bite of his food. He looked down at it. Food always tastes better when you eat it with someone else, but he did not have anyone else. He readied himself and slowly picked up the food with his spoon and forced it into his mouth. Immediately, the temperature in his mouth dropped as the food hurt the walls of his mouth with its ice cold feel and its bone dry, arid being. His eyes squinted as if he drank pure lemon juice, while his jaws diligently drove itself to rid of this miserable combination of tastes. Finally, his throat allowed him to swallow down this horrid ball. The food's bland, distasteful, and offensive taste skewered itself into his throat, leaving scars forever, as it slowly made its way down into his stomach, ready to leave him for good.
After finishing his food, he picked out a book to read while lying in his bed. And then he came across a quote that struck him. Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. This caused him to consider how he needs to change in order to progress. Although accepting these adjustments may be easier said than done, owing to his emotional relationship. Personal development is an ongoing process in a person's life that can lead to greater success, maturity, and happiness. He realized that happiness should come from life itself, regardless of what it throws at him. A few months later, he adjusted to the changes brought on by the epidemic. He learned to cope with online lessons. He learned to be content eating lunch with his buddies online, even if they didn't answer. And he discovered new indoor pastimes. He was able to establish a criterion for happiness that he could maintain regardless of external circumstances or changes. So the moral of the story, make an effort not to fight the changes that come your way. Allow life to flow through you instead. Also, don't be concerned about your life being turned upside down. How can you be sure that the side you're used to is superior to the one ahead? Thank you for listening.